to, and I generally listen to fantasy or science fiction soundtracks in the background while I'm playing. I just was, as a general question about your customer service, what would you say, if there is an answer, is the most common misconception about what your customer service department can actually do versus what you know you can do?
That's a really good question. I think it's that people, from what I've experienced, I think that it's that people think that we are designers. You'll often see even on the forums, they'll refer to designers often as GMs. You know, why did that GM create that raid and such a, and it's, you know, that's not what we do at all. So I think that is, I'm going to give the microphone to Ima, and as I do, I'm going to think of something else, I'm sure.
And I would like to hear Scott's answer
yes.
too. I would like to hear the answer for Scott too. Yes, it is, I think twofold. How do you say, the level of quality of customer support that customers expect. And I'll give you an example. I can have two exact same scenarios of two exact same petitions, and one customer will tell me, oh my God, this was awesome, you guys rocked, you answered it within an hour and a half, I didn't expect that, this is great, awesome service. And with that exact same scenario, I'll have a customer that curses me out and says, what are you thinking, 2 hours is way too long, I was expecting you in-game 5 minutes since I sent the petition. So that's expectation level is something that is very personal for everybody, and it is not always easy for us to live up to that expectation for everybody. So that's one, and secondly, it is, we're not designers, and if we push new information, of course there can be a quest that's broken, and even though we have the ability to fix it, I make that choice not to at that time. Even though I might have 100, 200 contacts of that same quest. At that point, my task is to inform our design team as fast as possible, our testing team, so to reproduce the bug, and to put pressure on them to get it fixed the next day. Because it is a lot easier for me to put that pressure on and get it fixed for thousands of players at once, than that I go in with my one GM and fix and update that quest one by one by one by one.
It is a good question. There's two things that come to mind for tech. One, a lot of people who get suspended or any sort of in-game action taken against them. Of course, nobody here, I'm sure. But if anything happens to you or your account, everyone thinks that they can call up tech and billing, and then we can somehow override what the GMs have done to you. Or their supervisor can. So when you only end up getting calls, it's like, yes, what you've told is what you've been told is correct. Now, you know, if there's any sort of thing that looks like it was, you know, done improperly, we can always escalate that. That's rarely ever the case. I don't even know if I've ever seen one. You know, we'll always look at it, but you know, if you got suspended for 3 days and you don't think you should have been suspended, you think it should have been 1 day, we can't change that. Yeah, the other one, and it's right along the lines of what you're saying, I have to bring it up because in tech we love it so much, station players. I cannot fix station players' issues. You put a ticket in, people do all the time, this is terrible to customer service. I wish there was customer service fix for it because it'd be fixed. A lot of times if anybody have a character that doesn't update properly, or if you do a character transfer, often that will break your character. There's no fix for that. Someone has to manually go in the database and edit the entry. And no one on my team has that ability. And, you know, we don't have they never made a tool to do it. So, you know, we'll put a ticket in, and often these tickets sit for, we'll just call it forever. While it sits there and waits, you have a queue where you put them, and we have, you know, the guys on my team. You know, one of them's in here being sneaky, but you know, they'll put tickets in and let it sit there, and they'll wait, and they'll update the ticket. Go, hey, is this fixed? Is this fixed? And, you know, trying to take care of the customer. And then we'll get a negative survey about how bad our customer service is. And I understand, you know, basically it's the, you know, the whole game really is customer service. So everything that doesn't work right, it's really a bad customer service issue, but there's no quick fix for it. And it really needs, the ones that they can just change a program and it fixes the whole process, those are easy, but it's the one guy whose level isn't right or has the wrong amount of quests or something, those are very difficult because he has to find fix it.
Come get your a little thingy. The gentleman right here in the white shirt.
I play Star Wars. I usually watch movies while I play.
Do you? What's your favourite movie to watch?
Well, I watch a different one every time.
Do you?
Braveheart's my favorite movie, though.
No, terrible movie.
See, that's customer service right there. Thanks for disagreeing with the customer.
My question's about Star Wars in general, but I imagine it could apply to all games. I recently was, during the Empire Day event, I was running an instance with a group, and it was off. And this is an instance we've finished, flawlessly many times. But the instance was so laggy this particular time that we failed miserably. I know I submitted a ticket, and I think several others did too. And basically the answer that came back was, we can't help you with this situation because we don't have information to know what the situation was. So my thought was, I know there's a report command to submit chat logs to customer support within game. I'm curious if there's some kind of command available or could be available that shows activity level so that the customer support can make a more informed decision rather than, sorry, we don't have the info to help you.
Lag, unfortunately, has been a thing since games began, right?
Sure.
For all of us, and it's something that, as customer service people, we deal with daily, and as players, just like you guys, it's the most frustrating thing. But your question is going to be one for people who are coders, really, or programmers, to see if, and I would say that because it is one of the biggest issues that we get, if it was possible, I'm sure it would have been done by now. In any game, not just SOE games, in any games. The problem that we have from a customer service standpoint comes back to a little bit of what I said before. If it's like a lower end thing, we'll oftentimes give you a benefit of the doubt and do it and help you. But lag usually happens when you have 24 people in one zone casting all their spells, all the effects. It's oftentimes in the bigger things. And if we update yours, unfortunately, not every gamer is as honest as yourself.
Right.
And then we end up with the situation where it becomes subjective and we have to sit and think, well, who's telling the truth and who's not, and it's just too difficult.
Right.
And
I can appreciate this response for that reason.
Yeah.
People would abuse it, but
right.
I was thinking if there was a way to get them the info by running a command that saves the same way the reports function does.
Yeah, you can look at times.
Saves the current, we have an indicator that shows what the activity is, and save that information so that he could go look at it and say, oh, well, it does look like there was an issue there. Maybe not even give us a reward, but reset the timer or whatever, since it's a once a day thing.
Yeah, and I would be curious to know if this is a one-off situation or if this happens every time at a certain time of every day or in that particular zone. The reason why I ask is that we didn't give players, for EQ2, we didn't give players the command. But I know, for example, EQ2 international servers, especially the Japanese, had problems, technical issues, but they have double byte characters, so their database is twice as big, pretty much. So if you put 24 people, imagine 48 people in a raid, that's technically what you put in. So if there is that valid complaint that you can actually pinpoint and say, this is happening every Friday night from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. If we go with X amount of people in this particular zone, that might be a start for us to say, okay, now we can actually take a look at the zone, put some code in the zone, and start to track that, see if where that problem is, if it's a coding problem, which is most of the time. But it does require more specifics for it.
I guess our real customer support question and all that was when the support people have to respond back that we don't have the info, does that bubble up to say, hey, we're getting these requests but we don't have the info to make the right answers? What can be done to get us the right info?
For my customer service representatives, we um, it's hard to imagine, but if you're on the floor, there's basically a constant chattering going on. So imagine that something would go on like, gosh, I have these tickets for this zone again. And somebody else will say, oh, I had one of them last night. And then they come, that's how we know, oh, wait a minute, this is happening more than just once, this is a one-off. And that is where I will pick it up, or a supervisor will pick it up, and I'll go, okay, this is more than just one customer having that problem. We'll need to take a look at it and escalate it. It doesn't, please don't submit 24 tickets per raid, because that, at that point, kind of defeats the purpose. But that's how it works in general.
What would you like as your thingy? You come up and have a look. Gentleman in the black shirt, yes.
Like I said, EQ2. My candle isn't a prodigy, I guess. A follow-up to your earlier subject about where a customer wants a name, and you wipe out, I guess, or allow them to take an older name that somebody is inactive on to allow them to get that name. That older record, is that wiped out, or do you give them a random name and it's still active, it has all the character data?
Still active, still there, just give them a random name.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was curious about that.
Yeah, sometimes just an X at the end.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Does that?
Yeah, I was just curious about what happens to the old record. Somebody decides to come back and find,
Yeah.
my name.
No, their character. We don't get rid of their character.
You give them a name,
Yeah.
Okay.
whatever they want.
As well.
Be an attachment as opposed to pasting it directly.
Yeah, the only problem with, we put attachments really for Scott's team in accounts and billing and technical support, because if you have a problem with your computer, you can attach DX diags and things like that. That's why there's an attachment. We're a little careful in customer service because people send us viruses. So we're a little weary of undoing the attachments. We sort of look at it, what is it? On free rounds, kids send us pictures of all sorts of wonderful things.
Would be one of what you as customer service regarding a lower priority than the physical position itself.
I missed what you said right in the very beginning, I'm sorry. Could you just say that again?
Would the petition presented as an attachment be considered of a lower priority
No.
or attention
No.
than the petition being filled out in a blank space?
No, it works on the time that you send it in, it enters a queue, and it really is in order of the time that it came, and we pull them based on that time. So a GM just presses, they don't see the whole queue, only supervisors and managers can see the whole queue. They cannot cherry pick. They press a button that says fill, and it gives them the next ticket that was waiting in the order that it was submitted.
So, seeing a quote-unquote blank petition, but there being an attachment to a blank petition, would it be bypassed?
That's a very good question. No, but it would take someone to think. On our end, the attachment thing is not. It's not in bright red with flashing lights. So you've got to think, oh, it's blank and there's an attachment. What I would do is make your subject line, please see my attachment.
Either that or within the petition itself, there is an attachment. Please pay attention to the attachment.
Absolutely.
I've taken a great deal of trouble.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would work.
Sony.